we will start with Mrs. Fox and just go that way. Let's try to be consistent with that. Opening statement of, what did I say? 1 minute. 1 minute opening statement.
Good evening, my name is Sarah Fox. I am a former prosecutor. I started my career serving the citizens of Collin County by prosecuting under your duly elected Criminal District Attorney Greg Willis. I prosecuted misdemeanor cases, felony cases. I actually was assigned to the 401st for 2 years of my career, so this is kind of a full circle moment for me. And then I left the DA's office and have been in private practice as a defense attorney ever since. I have practiced in federal courts, I've practiced in appellate courts, I have practiced in state courts. I have dozens upon dozens of jury trials under my belt and literally thousands of hours spent in the courtroom arguing. I'm board certified in criminal law. That's an honor held by less than 1% of the practicing attorneys in the state of Texas. It is an achievement that many attorneys, if they do achieve it, don't achieve until later in their career. You cannot achieve it unless you've been practicing 5 years. I had just had a baby, so I got it on year 6.
And with that, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Hi everybody, thanks for hanging with us tonight. My name is Brook Fulks. I'm running for the 401st. I'm an 8th generation Texan. My husband Caleb and I have been married for 16 years and we have 3 children, ages 8, 13, and 14. My oldest is over here in the red sweater hanging out with us this evening. We live in McKinney. I've practiced primarily in Collin County with a little bit in Dallas, Denton, and Grayson County. And currently I'm at a 12 attorney law firm. I previously had my own solo practice with my first office in downtown McKinney, and we love McKinney. I love giving back. I love serving on our CPS board where I was court appointed by County Judge Chris Hill, and currently have been endorsed by Texas Right to Life, Representative Scott Sanford, as well as all of the police associations that have endorsed, with the exception of Dallas, which is not endorsed in this race. So hopefully you can learn a little bit more about me this evening and earn your vote next Tuesday.
Thank you. And again, thank you all for being here. My name is George Flint, and I am also a candidate for the 401st District Court. Those of you who have been around Collin County for a while may recognize me as the prior chairman of the Collin County Republican Party for the last 5 years. I've also been endorsed by Texas Right to Life, along with the sole endorsement of Patriots Texas, Collin County Conservative Republicans, and the Texans for Courageous Courts, which is a project of Empower Texans. Scott Sanford has also endorsed me, along with State Board of Education Pam Little and former State Representative Ron Simmons. Constable Gary Edwards has also supported me, along with 71 of the precinct chairs, which is almost more than 60% of the total precinct chairs. I have 39 years of general...
And that's the red card. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I like all of you. I'm so sorry. Okay, Ms. Fulks, since you started, we'll start with Ms. Fulks. We'll go right into the questions. Explain your actually, let's start with a softball. Name a sitting district court judge with whom you greatly admire and you believe you philosophically agree.
Sure. So Judge Jennifer Edgeworth of the 219th District Court, we were actually sitting here 2 years ago as she was in her primary race. I was her assistant campaign manager and went to almost every single event with her. And the reason why I supported her and helped work so hard to get her elected with the block walking, phone banking, is because she is a constitutional conservative. Having cases in her court, I know that she reads everything before court, she's prepared, and I know that she follows the rule of law. And as a judge, that's my goal and my plan, and what I believe in is absolutely following the rule of law. As you heard some previous candidates, it's not about my opinion, it's about what the legislatures in Austin have written, what the governor has enacted, and what has been presented to the judges to apply to the cases. So Judge Jennifer Edgeworth is who I am most closely aligned with.
Mr. Flint?
I actually, depending on what you're talking about, have 3. Jill Willis, because she runs an incredibly efficient court. Ray Willis, because of how he treats the people who are in front of him with great humor. and balance. And then I would also agree that Jennifer Edgeworth has the kind of civil background as I do, and with the kind of judge of constitutional conservatism that I also practice. Thank you.
I also say Jennifer Edgeworth. We've been asked this in several of our questionnaires, and that's always been my answer. Because I'm in the courtroom so much, I have practiced extensively in front of all of the general jurisdiction judges and admire each of them. Jennifer Edgeworth came in with a seriousness and a passion for her new position as a judge that was quickly apparent, and she gained respect of attorneys and the clients appearing in front of her. She also brings a softness as a mother and a woman and an empathetic nature when necessary. She's strict, but also kind, and I think that is a personality that I definitely align with, that I can identify with, and I appreciate the way that she has managed to balance her life as a judge and as a powerful career woman with her life as a mother to a young son.
Excellent. We've had this question before. You guys can choose how you respond to it. Why are you the most qualified or more qualified than your opponents to hold this position? Mr. Flint.
Well, 39 years of broad civil practice in basically all the trial courts in North Texas, including having written a amicus brief for the U.S. Supreme Court. That's it in life. I mean, lived a long life, lived a good life, and I think that kind of balance, wisdom, and experience is what is important on the court.
I wouldn't say that I am not only the most qualified, I'm the only one qualified. You heard from Judge Smith that the general jurisdiction courts, like the 380th, the 401st is 70% criminal docket, serious felony criminal cases. Okay, that's what you're hearing. And I'm the only person sitting up here who has any criminal experience. I'm an expert in criminal law by the state of Texas. I have been a prosecutor. I have been a defense attorney. I have represented people accused of murders and child molestation. That is where my practice has been. I also have more jury trial experience and actual courtroom experience than either of my opponents. When you have people in front of you whose lives are literally on the line because you have to decide a capital murder case or sign a death warrant or decide if someone goes to prison or gets to stay on the streets. You don't want someone who's learning on the job from the bench. You want someone who's had that experience. So if we're looking at qualifications to hear a court that is 70% criminal, I'm the only one who has those qualifications.
Okay, and I think, is that all? Yeah, thank you.
So I kind of think back to 4 years ago and wonder how President Trump answered this question 4 years ago, because he did not have the political resume as some of his opponents like Ted Cruz. And has he not done a phenomenal job? He got in there, he learned, and day one, he was ready to go, and he has defended us to the core of his bone, making sure that we are a free nation. And that's what I'll do on the bench. None of us have been judges before, so it would be a brand new job for all of us. And I will study. I remember going back to Judge Edgeworth before she took the bench. She spent many months studying, and at this time I already have criminal defense attorneys that are ready to take me along with them. I actually have a criminal trial tomorrow, so we'll study and learn. And I agree, life experience. I have 3 kids, I've been practicing. I handle family law cases primarily, and when you're dealing with a child in front of you, that is one of the most important things when you're having to make a decision where that child's going to be and the parents that are training them and teaching them. And so I believe that I am qualified to take this bench. I will be ready on January 1st.
I think we're back to Ms. Fox. In your experience, what's the most common error made in lower courts, district courts or lower courts?
So the easiest way to get turned over on appeal is by failing to include in the jury charge, which is the instructions that are given to a jury about what they're allowed to consider when they're making their verdict. Failing to include something that the evidence has raised, no matter how weakly it's raised it. A judge's decision to not include that in the jury charge is the easiest way to get overturned. Fortunately, we don't see that in Collin County, but because I have practiced in many different counties, Collin County being my home practice, but I've practiced all over North Texas, I have unfortunately seen that. And an example of that would be if you're in an assaultive case and there is evidence raised of self-defense. The law says a jury cannot consider that when deciding their verdict unless it is in those written instructions, right? And it is all too common for judges to say, well, yes, it was raised, but I didn't think it was strong enough. And so they don't include that in the instructions, which keeps the jury from being able to legally consider it. So that's the most common mistake that I have seen in my practice, although again, fortunately not in our county.
One reason cases will get overturned on appeal is because of notice requirements. So you heard my fans talk about the constables serving. So the constables serve papers as well as private process servers, and you have to make sure that that return of service is on file. You also have to provide proper notice for trials. And so there's actually a rule of civil procedure that you have to provide 45 days notice prior to the first setting of a trial. And a lot of times attorneys will try to tweak that a little bit and cut in under 30 days and under that 45 days. And that is an easily appealable issue. I've actually been in a case, not on the bad side of it, where a termination was overturned by the Dallas Court of Appeals because proper notice hadn't been given. So I think that several of our judges have implemented some solid rules. Right now, Judge Emily Miskell being one of the top ones that has a strict set of making sure that the notice requirements are met, that you come to court with your notice in your hand showing how you served the other party, and if they're not there, then you're able to prove up that they were given the proper notice so that that appeal doesn't need to happen.
There are 4 reasons cases are appealed. One is failure of notice, failure of service. Another is defective charge to the jury. Another is misunderstanding and defective application of the law. And the 4th is failure to admit facts or the opposite, which is the admission of facts which should not have been admitted. So there's at least 4 reasons, as well as sometimes abuse of the process by the court itself. So those 5, I said 4, they're really 5, and that would be pretty much the summary of 100%.
Awesome. As you can tell from some of their answers, I'm not an attorney and they are. They're more intelligent than me on these points. So let's let them ask questions. We don't have time for everyone to ask everyone questions, but let's start with Mrs. Fulks. Ask one of your opponents a question and they'll get to rebut.
Okay. So it was a question for both of them, so whoever wants to take it. But we have 7 Democrats that are running in November. They're running for our judicial bench. As you heard earlier in the evening, that's how they got into, it was Judge Novak that said that. That's how they took Dallas, was they got into the courts. And so, Mr. Flint, George, what do we need to do as a party to keep the Democrats out in November?
Well, thank you for that softball question. I appreciate that. Well, I think there's several things. Number one, we obviously need to nominate as our candidates the best qualified. Secondly, we need to unify. And with judges this time, it's going to be easier because we're allowed now to campaign together as a unit. And that's going to simplify how we do things and the number of events that all the judges can go to. I'm going to say again, unify. As the chairman, that was my emphasis. We need to recognize that at the end of the day, we're all better qualified than any of the Democrats would be running against.
Mr. Flint, if you applause the line, well done. Okay. Yes, let's go with Mr. Flint. Ask a question.
I'm going to pass.
No problem. We will take that time and hand it to Mrs. Fox.
My question is for Mr. Flint. As someone who has spent so much of the last several years being dedicated to the party and protecting Collin County and keeping it conservative. What do you say to the concerns that you are constitutionally barred from holding a second term, which would then leave the 401st Judicial District Court open seat for potential attack by the Democrats in 4 years?
I actually have several answers to that question. First of all, every election stands on its own. We're not electing me for 10 years from now, we're electing me for today. And I think our focus should always be on who is the best candidate for today to win against the Democrats today. 4 years from now, that will be a different person. 4 years from now, that may very well be a different answer. We will retain the judiciary by the judiciary being excellent. And it almost doesn't matter who is in position as long as those who are in position represent the fundamental values of constitutional conservatism, of rights of the individual over rights of the government, of quite frankly, respect for the citizens that appear before us. So I don't think the question is, why run if I can't run in 4 years? I think the question is, why not vote for me when in fact I am the best candidate? Thank you.
All right. Let's do lightning round. I'd love to ask you more questions. I'm sure they want to go home at some point. This has been great. Lightning round. Let's start with Ms. Fox. Have you ever been arrested or charged with a felony?
Nope.
No.
No.
Have you committed a felony or been convicted of committing a felony?
No.
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 It's delightful to hear. Excellent. Have you, this is a tedious one, have you been disciplined, reprimanded, cited for breach of ethics, for unprofessional conduct by a court, administrative agency, bar association?
No.
No.
And no.
There's been yes in several previous forums, so I always ask. Have you voted for a Democrat candidate at any level in the last 10 years?
No.
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 Have you failed to vote in any primary or general election in the last 10 years?
Yes.
Yes.
I think the answer to that is
No. Do you personally believe your opponent or opponents are fit for holding this office?
Mr. Flint, yes. Ms. Fulks, no.
Yes.
I'm going to pass.
All right. One or two words, self-identify, socialist, conservative, whatever.
Fiscally conservative Republican.
Okay.
Christian conservative.
Tea Party conservative.
Awesome. They're going to get a 1.5-minute closing statement. If you listen to their answers, there's actually a lot in them. So I've actually learned a lot tonight too. I hope you did. And with that, I think you started in the statement. So Mr. Flint, why don't you start and come this way with your closing statement?
Well, I started off with a list of endorsements. Those endorsements don't come easily, and they come after a great amount of thought. I think who you should vote for should be this person, and that is close your eyes and think about whose court you want to be in. And I think when you do that, I'm the natural choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you all again for coming out tonight. Thank you for being involved. I love Collin County. I love being part of our Collin County Republican Party. I love being part of our community. And I think when you look at the type of judge you want on the bench, you want someone who is going to follow the rule of law, but you also want someone that's going to understand our county. Having volunteered through Junior League of Collin County, Legal Aid of Northwest Texas, having previously served on the board of Volunteer McKinney, I participate in our community. I don't just sit in my office and do my billable hours. I always have a pro bono case going. I always make sure that I'm participating. I'm on the board of our Collin County Bar Association, and you need to look at the long term. When you make decisions for your family, you're not just looking at the short term, you're making decisions for the long term. And knowing that the Democrats are here ready to take our benches and ready to take our elected seats, you need to look at who's going to be able to be here for Collin County, not just now, but in 4 years, in 8 years, in 12 years. Brook Fulks for the 401st.
So I think that instead of thinking about who you want on the bench, you need to think about other aspects of the job, because it's not just about who you like, it's about who's qualified. And the fact of the matter is that when Officer David Sherrard of Richardson PD was brutally murdered a little over a year ago, it was the sitting judge of the 401st that Plano PD called in the middle of the night to review their warrants, to make sure that when that death penalty is sought on the man who murdered that police officer, that any conviction that might be obtained is protected on appeal, right? And so instead, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about if a family member, God forbid, or loved one of yours is brutally murdered, and the police department has to pick up the phone and call the sitting judge after hours to review the validity of that warrant. Who is it that you want on January 1st of 2021 picking up that phone call? Judge Smith said that his opponent was not qualified to even take court appointments on the felony wheel. Neither are my opponents. In fact, one step further, neither of my opponents have prosecuted or defended a misdemeanor case. Let alone, how can we say that they're qualified to sit on a bench and hear the utmost serious felony cases that affect you, your family, your friends, and your community. I'm the only person with those qualifications. That's the only reason that I'm running, is because I want to serve your community with the gifts and the experience that God has given me. Thank you so much, and I ask for your support.
Let's give them all a round of applause.